What do you think of the National Defense Authorization Act 2019 that President Trump signed into law recently?
Yeah, I think the latest National Defense Authorization Act is a very important step forward in codifying the new approach to China by the Trump administration, which has been outlined in first the White House National Security Strategy. I think that was in December of 2017, and then followed by the new National Defense Strategy, which came out in January of this year. And those two, for the first time in decades, identified China as a strategic competitor, which is a diplomatic way of saying that it's no longer accepted that China is going to become a pro-freedom, a pro-capitalist nation. And so I think that the NDAA, for the first time, has kind of codified that new strategy in a number of areas. Now, there are some minuses to it. For example, Senator Marco Rubio, who's one of the most outspoken on the issue of China, voted against the measure because it did not contain restrictions on Chinese telecommunications companies that he was advocating. And that was as a result of a Trump administration deal with China, which removed U.S. sanctions on Chinese telecommunications companies. But on the positive side, we see that this has really called for strengthening U.S. relations with Taiwan, which I think is a real important strategic move by the Trump administration, cooperation.
Right. So are we seeing a major overhaul of China policies under President Donald Trump?
Yes, very much so. And like I said, the National Security Strategy and the National Defense Strategy have been a teutonic shift in policy. Now, it's going to take, I would say, a number of years, probably 2 or 3 years, before that top-down policy really has an impact on the various government agencies, whether it's the Commerce Department or the Pentagon or the Justice Department. But we're already seeing major shifts from the private sector.
So what's the thing about Trump that makes him different from previous presidents in dealing with China?
It's very interesting. I've studied the current president's policies, and I noticed that as far back as 2012, Trump first wrote a book when he was thinking about running for president in that time. And in that book, in 2012, he talked about breaking with the American business community on China, specifically really no longer ignoring China's human rights abuses, and of course, from a business perspective, China's unfair trade practices. So that has really been, I think, for the president, the prime impetus for his new policies.